Jason!
Hey, Jacob.
Hey! Good, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well. Just messed up this massive spider web going out here on the porch.
Um, well, you know the story about the spider web and David, right?
No. I have no idea. Let's hear
I
this.
think I don't think it's explicit in the Bible. I think it might be from the Midrash that when David went and hid in the cave and Saul came in after him, the reason why Saul thought the cave was empty was because a spider wove a huge web outside. Yeah,
What?
and yes, I think that's from the midrash. I
Wow,
can.
that's so cool. I love that story. I've never heard that before. That's really neat.
Uh, well, if you've never heard it, then it must not be from the Bible. Um, David, King David.
So how have you been though? How's your day going?
Good. I mean, things are getting busier. Not doing as much work as I should be. Spiderweb cave. Uh, no, it's First Samuel 17. It is from the Bible.
Wait, yeah, spiderweb cave. Okay, I'm gonna pull my Bible out so that way you get it in my version. So let's see how this translates. First Samuel chapter 17. Is that what you said?
That
No,
is what I
no,
said. I believe.
that can't be right. Because 17 is when he's killing Goliath, right? No.
Uh,
No, wait, no, you're right.
First Samuel
Hey.
17, verse 46.
46. Oh, yeah, you're right. Okay. Let's see. Oh, wait. No, this is when he's killing Goliath. Verse 46. First Samuel
Oh,
17. It's gotta be. Is it Second
uh,
Samuel, maybe? No, that can't be right either. What's happening?
no, this
Saul
is First
persecuted
Samuel 20. Let me see what this website is saying.
20.
Okay, so preached a few years ago.
David spares Saul. So 24, maybe? Yeah, I think that's where he's hiding in the cave. Now it happened when Saul had returned from following the Philistines that it was told him, saying, "Take note, David is in the wilderness of En-Gedi." And Saul took 3,000 chosen men from Israel, uh, went to seek David and his men on the rocks of the wild goats. So he came by the sheepfolds by the road where there was a
Yeah,
cave.
Google was lying to me.
Oh no! Yeah, because
Google must
this
have been lying to me.
David and his men were staying in the recesses of the cave. I don't know, but I like this story anyway to say that. So
Uh, I mean,
with the spider web,
must have
that's
been
really cool.
from. It must have been from. Yeah, it is from the midrash. So
Ah,
Otsar midrashim. Let me find it if I can. Otsar midrashim 47. Midrash. Otsar midrashim. I don't know what they mean by 47 though. Midrash. Well, there's no point in there. Anyway, yeah. Maybe one day I will look up. Yeah, well, Google's kind of telling me it's from the Midrash. That is what Google is telling me.
I like that story. That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. Okay. Um. Yeah. Okay. King David and the Spider. Okay, we're wasting time. So, what are we talking about tonight?
I don't know. Yeah, we can talk about whatever you want. You said we didn't get to everything last time. We definitely got misdirected in all sorts of ways, but
We kind of sort of did. I made some. Oh, that's what I was gonna do.
Oh, I forgot about that. That thing.
I was going to teach the tree of life,
Yeah.
and that. Okay. So, yes, now I remember. Okay, let's find Tikkun Zohar. Let me see. Petach Eliyahu is Tikkun Zohar 17, I want to say. Tikkun Zohar 17. No. 17. Why did it take me to page 30? 17. There we go. So, Tikkun Zohar 17a. I usually do this in Hebrew, but we'll do it in the English.
All right.
So this is part of the Tikkun Zohar, which is a it's an explanation of the Zohar. Anyway, it purports to be from the time of slightly after Jesus. And this particular part is known as Patach Eliyahu, which literally means the prophet Elijah opened, right, as in started to speak. And it is read in many, many liturgies in Jewish congregations. And that's why it's considered a okay thing to generally teach people. So, the prophet Elijah of blessed memory opened and said, "Eternal hidden master of the worlds, you are he whose infinite unity is infinite and absolute, and therefore indivisible. You are he transcendent beyond all that is above and concealed behind all that is concealed. No thought whatsoever can grasp you, but you are he who brought forth 10 rectifications. We call them the 10 Sefirot, Atzilut. So there are 4 categories of worlds. The first category of world, Atzilut, is translated as emanation. And then there is a break after emanation. And then you get Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya, which are the worlds of creation, formation, and action. And okay, it's a mistake to think that a mistake people commonly make, that we exist in the world of action alone. We don't exist in the world of action alone. We exist in all the worlds simultaneously, but spiritually, what we do can, first of all, it cannot reach the world of emanation because the world of emanation is too pure, even though we do exist in it, okay? But our actions can, if they are aligned with God's will, simultaneously also be in the world of formation and creation and even emanation, because we are in fact matching God's will. Did that make any sense to you?
I think so. So you're saying, we can kind of engage in the world of emanation the more closely we're lined up with the will of God.
Yes.
Okay.
The more
Okay.
closely we align with the will of God, the more of the spiritual worlds we are embodying in, of the higher spiritual worlds we are embodying in the world of action, which is affected by everything we do.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Okay.
when it says Atzilut, it's talking about emanation, and
Okay.
we're going to start explaining what the 10 Sefirot, and you will notice there are 11 on here, but there are only 10 Sefirot. Okay?
Okay.
And we'll explain them further. But there are 10 Sefirot, not 9. There are 10 Sefirot, not 11. And I'll explain that later. Okay?
Okay.
But
I have a question really quick.
Yes.
And this might be something you're getting ready to get into, and sorry if it is.
Mhm.
But so then you mentioned emanation, then you mentioned creation, formation, and action.
Yes.
So creation, formation, and action. How is there a proper way for me to distinguish those in my head? I'm just having a
Yes.
I might just
So
be slow.
creation, you can consider creation as in uh, creation ex nihilo.
Okay.
Formation is creation of a thing from a thing, and action is the world in which we act, and we is the material world in which we are.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Okay,
All
so
right. Thanks.
emanation, creation, formation, action.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Now, all of these worlds have what's called a partsuf, which is the tree, exists in all of these worlds. Okay? Okay, so let's go back to. Let me, in fact, make this bigger so that it's easier to read. Okay, so where were we? So, we call them the 10 Sfirot of Atzilut, that's emanation, with which to regulate hidden worlds that are not revealed, as well as worlds that are revealed. Indeed, it is through these that you are hidden from human beings. You are he who binds them and unifies them, and inasmuch as you are within them, anyone who separates one from the other is regarded as having caused, God forbid, a separation in you. You also arranged garments. It is from these garments that the souls of human beings originate. They are called a body relative to the clothes that cover them. These are arranged as follows. Chesed, or loving kindness, is the right arm. Gevura, restraint, is the left arm. And Tiferet, harmony, is the torso. Netzach, dominance, and Hod, empathy, usually translated as glory, but okay, are the two legs. And Yesod, foundation, is the body's extremity, the sign of the Holy Covenant. That is the Holy Covenant of circumcision. Malchut is the mouth, and yeah, I mean, okay, don't get too confused because there are many different ways of expressing these same ideas, and none of them are exact. All of them are ways of trying to understand what we already understand better.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I have to repeat what I always say, which is when we talk about scripture, those things are set. Scripture is set. Okay? When we talk about oral law is kind of, so think of scripture kind of like the glass, And you can think of the oral law as kind of like the water in the glass. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And each of us receives of the oral law as much as we personally can receive, but the scriptures, that's everybody can relate to it. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Malchut is the mouth. It is therefore called the oral law. Chokhmah, that is wisdom, is the brain, the seat of thought, and Binah, understanding, is the heart's ability to discern. Concerning these, it is written, the hidden things belong to the Lord our God. And
Okay.
so, Hanistarot La Hashem Elokeinu, right? So the Tetragrammaton, who is our God. And yeah, not going to explain that too much. The supernal crown, Keter Elyon, is the Keter Malchut. So let me explain this briefly. So you will see Keter literally means crown, and Malchut means kingship.
Okay.
Keter is on top.
That was also oral law too, right? Speaking.
Also, yes.
Kind of the idea. Okay.
Okay. So Keter Malchut, right? So the crown of kingship. Those two are superimpositions of each other. So it's 10, not 11. So a partsuf should only show either Keter, so 2 out of the 3 of Keter, Dot, and Malchut. And usually it will either show Dot and Malchut or Keter and Dot, right? So usually it'll either show both Keter and Malchut. Usually it won't show Keter and Malchut, but sometimes it'll show Keter and Malchut, but not Dot. But usually it'll show Dot and either Keter or Malchut. Okay? This is what I mean when I say it is 10, not 9, not 11. It's 10. So there are only 10 sfirot, right?
Okay.
But this has 11 sfirot on it, if you count.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to track. This is a lot.
Yes. So, Keter, Dot, and Malchut, only 2 out of the 3 actually show.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Okay? So, you can show with any of the 2 of the 3. Most people usually won't show Dot. Keter. Some people won't show Dot. Usually, most people don't show Keter.
So what was Dot again?
Da'at is knowledge.
Knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's the intimate knowledge that, like it says, Adam knew his wife, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So, okay. So let me go through and explain each of the sfirot. So I said Keter is crown. Chachma is the so this is actually showing so that you are, so Chokhmah, right, would be would correspond to your right eye, and Chesed to your right hand, and Netzach to your right leg. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
And Bina, left eye, Gevura, left hand, Hod, left leg. Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Chokhmah is it's usually translated as wisdom, is the koach ma. That it means the potential, the potential and power of what? It is that spark flash of insight, which is the masculine, which Bina, the feminine, takes and forms or builds. The word Bina and Boneh, Boneh means to build in Hebrew, right? They are related. So Bina is that which takes the from Chachma and gives it form by giving it width and length and breadth. It's sometimes called a river. But that's so Bina is the ability to understand one thing from another. So to take Chachma and to gestate it and give it form. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then Da'at is the intimate knowledge that that combines everything, and in fact combines what these three intellectual attributes, Chachma, Bina, and Da'at, are with what are called the 6 emotions. So sometimes Da'at is kind of analogized to like the seat of your brain, where your brain connects to your body, okay, and your emotions, okay.
Okay.
So Gevura, well, let's do Chesed. Sorry, Chesed. That's the right arm, right? Is loving kindness, and now we're getting into the 7 shepherds. So each one of these sfirot was embodied by a person, by one of the 7 shepherds. So Chesed was embodied by Abraham, like the verse says, "Titen emet, titen Chesed laAbraham." You gave loving kindness to Abraham. Okay.
Okay.
Gevura is usually translated severity or strength or justice, and that was embodied by Isaac. Okay. Tiferet, usually translated as beauty, was embodied by Jacob. Okay.
That's interesting. Okay.
It's also sometimes translated as truth, because that verse which says you gave chesed to Abraham says you gave truth to Jacob.
To Jacob. Oh, okay. All right.
Huh. I mean, this stuff gets really complicated, but
no, I'm enjoying all this. It's just so much to like, to hold in my head at once because it's a lot of information. But
it is.
Before
it is.
Real quick, I just
sure.
thought of something too. We forgot to pray. Do you care? If
we
do
did. We should pray.
Okay. All right, because I definitely probably need help on this. So, all right. Do you want to pray, or do you want me to again?
You do it.
All right. Heavenly Father, we come before you right now. We thank you for this time that you've given us to study your scriptures, to study your word, to study the Hebrew language, to study these ideas and these truths that you've revealed to us. And I just ask that you help to open up mine and Jacob's and everybody's understanding, and that you impart wisdom into our minds and into our hearts. And I thank you for that. Amen.
Amen. So Ben says, I think it would be helpful to show the Hebrew spelling of the tree also. It would. I didn't do that. I probably should.
Hebrew spelling of the tree?
Yeah, so this is the tree that we're looking at, and everything's transliterated into English.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, I see. Okay,
I didn't do. I didn't do the Hebrew. So,
I understand. Okay.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do it next time. Okay.
So it's because I'm assuming when he says that, like we kind of got into the Cain and Abel stuff last time. I'm assuming the ones on the, which would be the left side would be more masculine looking letters or something?
Left side is actually feminine. Right side
Oh,
is masculine.
yeah, I forgot it's reversed for me. I don't know why. Yeah, because the Hesed is actually masculine, right?
Uh, what?
Hesed.
Chesed, yeah, Chesed is
Okay, yeah.
masculine. Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Yes. Yes.
All right, sorry.
Correct.
Okay, so we were at
Okay.
the beauty,
Um,
Jacob, the seven shepherds, that
yeah.
sort of thing. Okay.
Yes. So, and then Netzach, which means victory or overcoming, that would be Moses. Hod would be Aaron. And Yesod, Hod, I mean, it's hard to translate Hod. I often translate it as glory.
Okay, that was
Um,
and that was the one they had written as empathy or something like that. I'm not sure.
yeah, yeah.
Sounds strange.
So the way I usually explain Netzach and Hod is Netzach. Think of Moses bringing the Torah down from above to the world, and Aaron, the high priest, taking things like animals and bringing them up as korbanot, as sacrifices. Okay?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So Netzach is from above coming on down, and Hod is from below going up. Okay?
Okay.
Yesod is foundation, and sometimes people will translate it as continents. Yeah, yeah. I'll send you something, Ben, afterwards, so you can see the Hebrew words.
Well, I like all the different translations people are giving too, because I think there's it's interesting to think about why why one would
Those
be
same words, yeah, yeah.
because that's always, I think those are always good things to meditate on. Why you're like, why is this the same word? Why would someone say this word and the other person say this word? And I
Right.
think when you can do that and actually meditate on them, you kind of get at the more of the idea or thought behind it or something. So
Yes. So Yesod, like it said, it is the extremity, the place of circumcision. Okay, and it is embodied by Joseph.
okay.
Joseph, who, and one way to think about it is Joseph, who ran away from Potiphar's wife, right? And that's why sometimes it's translated as continence, right? The ability to stay holy. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
And Malchut is the ultimate in the feminine. It is the kingship, and if you are actually thinking like in terms of top down, right, from up down, and the human image, Malchut would actually be the ground, just as Keter would be a crown on top of the head, right? It's not actually part of the image itself.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Okay?
It's weird that it's because wasn't it said? Well, it was also translated like the oral speaking, but wasn't it kingship? And you said
The
that's like the
oral
ultimate
the oral Torah, yeah.
feminine. That like kingship wouldn't, my mind wouldn't normally think feminine, but
Right. And the embodiment of Malchut is actually David.
okay, that's interesting. Oh, okay, huh? I'm gonna that's it's gonna be a lot to think on. Like I like all these ideas because these are something. I feel like there's incredibly profound thoughts behind them. I'm just like, it's gonna
Well, yeah,
work through it on.
I thought I would give you things to think about. Now,
Yeah,
this is
definitely.
another way of thinking of the Sphirot. Okay? So, you recognize the Tetragrammaton, right? The Yud is the letter all the way on the right. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
right? You recognize the tetragrammaton?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Keter would be the point of the Yud.
Okay.
Okay. Chokhmah would be just the jot that is the Yud. Bina gives Bina gives the form, I said, right? The length and the width. So think of it as the top part of the hay. Okay?
Okay.
And then da'at would be kind of like the little leg of the hay that's kind of like chachma, right? But it's
Mm-hmm.
within the bina. Uh, the vav, so vav is actually the sixth letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So it's also six, and it can be said to be all six of the emotional attributes we talked about,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then malchut would be the last hay, right? And that's why we had this, where we said that God's lordship would be in the last hay of his name. And when that happens, that's completion, because you bring God all the way, you bring God all the way from on top, all the way down, and all through, so he fills the entire hierarchy,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay. On earth as in heaven, sort of thing.
Yes, on
Yeah.
earth as in heaven. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Okay. So, unless you have questions, we can go back to the Tikkun Zohar.
Let's do it. I got a question that'll completely derail us, but it just I'll
If you
ask
want to
it later.
ask away, or we can keep on going on in the Tikkun Zohar. We
Let's
can
keep
go
going.
wherever
Let's
you
keep
want.
going.
That you're here so that I'm not just talking and lecturing and ranting and
No,
stuff.
I think we should stick with this while we're
Okay.
in it. Yeah, it was
Okay.
just about the seven shepherds, but we that's a whole
Okay.
different topic. So yeah.
Okay. So Keter Elyon, the supernal crown, is the Keter of Malchut, is the crown of kingship, concerning which it is said, I declare the end from the beginning. Right? Isaiah 46:10.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And like I said, so Keter and Malchut are superimpositions of each other.
Yeah.
Usually we show only one of the two, right? And that's how you have 10, not 11, 10, not 9. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, okay. I declare the end from the beginning. The leather box of the tefillin. That's a whole other thing. We'll get into it. So, I'm not going to do the gematrias here. Uh, so yeah, I mean yud. So this is what's called milui, which is doing the fullness, which is when you actually spell out the letters as well. So this is the holy name written out and then turned into gematria, and that's why Yud becomes 20, and then Hey becomes 6, and then Vav becomes 13, and then Hey is 6 again. So you end up with, what was it, 12, 25, 45, which, yeah, not sure the way. Okay. Yeah, not gonna get into the gematria too much. Okay. This name, therefore, so fills and saturates its limbs and branches as water irrigates and saturates a tree. It then grows in proportion to how much water flows into it, flows through it. So the name waters the entire tree. And
Okay.
yeah,
I
I'm
like
not
that.
even sure as far as the gematria goes. Okay, so eternal hidden master of the worlds, you are the supreme cause of all causes and the origin of all effects. You water the tree with that flow, and that flow is the very life force of the tree, like a soul to a body. But no human likeness or bodily image exists in your infinite essence, with which we might liken you to anything within or without. You alone created the starry galaxies and the earth. From the galaxies above, you brought forth sun and moon, planets and starry constellations. On the earth below, you brought forth trees and plants, the Garden of Eden and grass, living creatures, birds and fish, animals and humanity. Through them, you make known that which is above, how all that is above and below is regulated, and how the higher worlds may be known from the lower. But knowledge of your essence is completely impossible. For my head is drenched with dew, Song of Songs 5:2, Nimlatal, right? What is drenched with dew? What does that mean? Nimlatal, right? And the Holy One, blessed be He, said, you may think that from the day that the Holy Temple was destroyed, I entered my house and dwelling place, but it is not so. I will not enter as long as you are in exile. Here is the sign, my head is drenched in dew. Roshi Nimlat Tal. Hey is the Shekhinah. So again, they're getting into the numerology and we won't get into it. Hey is the Shekhinah in exile, God's holy presence in exile. Her completion and her life is dew, that is Tal, which is Yud K Vav K, that's 39, right? And then so I don't know if this helps or not, but the first three letters are 39, the last letter would be 6, and you end up with 45. I don't know if that helps. But
yeah, but what's the significance of 45 though? What's that? Why is that?
45, like we said before, was the entirety of the name Bemilui, written fully. The Tetragrammaton. The Tetragrammaton ends up with
45.
Is 45. Yeah.
Okay. So then we're down here. We're adding.
We're saying that Tal 39.
Okay. Tal. Okay.
Is the first three letters. Okay. So my head is filled with Tal, with 39, with the first three letters.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. My head is drenched in dew.
With dew.
Okay. And the letter values sum up to 39. Tal, dew. It fills up the Shekhinah from the source of all the supernal emanations. The faithful shepherd immediately rose with the holy patriarchs. The faithful shepherd is Moses. The holy patriarchs, it's talking about the Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, along with him. Up to this point, it is the secret of the unification. From here on, the first portion of the concealed Torah. And they didn't translate the rest of this. I really like this next part. Ant chakim v'lav b'chochma yediah. You are wise, but not known through wisdom. Ant hu mevin v'la mibina yediah. So, you see chochma and bina, right? So, and you are understanding, knowledge, understanding. You are understanding and not known through understanding. Leit lach atar yediah, there's no known place for you, ela l'shtomada tufchach v'chelach l'vnei nasha, except in that you reveal your greatness to man, um, to teach us how you run the world with justice and mercy, that they are tzedek and mishpat, they are righteousness and justice. Kifum uvdahon divnei nashal, as men act. Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna translate the rest of it because I'm not that good.
It sounds good to
But
me. You're doing great.
yeah. um, yeah. So, but this beginning line, right?
You are wisdom, but not known through wisdom. You are understanding, but not known through understanding.
Yeah, yeah. And you have no known place other than um, how you. Can you read Hebrew?
No. So
Then what are you looking at?
I don't know. I'm just looking at it.
Okay. I'm surprised you remember that I translated it that way. Okay, so did any of that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like the entire thing. Yeah, it makes sense to me. And it
So what are your
almost,
thoughts? And
well,
feel free to ask questions if you want to, but I want to know your thoughts.
oh, man. So it's there just seems like there's so many things. It's very deep. It's a lot deeper than than surface level, of course, which most things are. Can we go back to the image of the tree?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, I really like it. I like the idea that ooh, I don't know, it's interesting how it all parallels together, and you brought up the name, and then the name under the lordship under the name and everything, and
Yeah.
how that is parallel. So that is kind of like the tree,
And
right?
also with the human being. And,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's all related.
Yeah.
I don't know what questions I have. So the thing you said last though, what was it? You are wisdom, but you're not known through wisdom. You are understanding, but you're not known through understanding. But then it was something like, but you're revealed through man or something like
Right.
that.
So you do not have a known place
Okay.
other than you make yourself known to man.
Is that kind of interpreted or understood to be that man is God's temple? Or is that like some sort of heresy?
No, that's not heresy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, is it said you have
haven't
no
heard
place?
it before. I have not heard that before. And like I said, the thing with this is how it resonates with you. And as long as you stay within the cup that is
Okay.
scripture,
Yeah.
right? The inside is fluid,
Okay.
and it's
Well,
how you can grasp it.
Mm-hmm. It made me the phrase "you have no place" made me think of when they're going into the new promised land, and God keeps repeating like you're gonna build this or set up the tabernacle in the
Right.
place that I show you, in the place.
Yeah.
And then even there's something weird. So when it says that it is revealed in man, it's kind of like I don't know, and even this whole tree thing, it being the image of a man, it kind of seems like that is how God is working through man, and man is kind of the temple tabernacle in a way or something. There's a weird part in Exodus too. I've never really understood, but Moses, when he's building the tabernacle, he's building the tabernacle of meeting. As far as
Mhm.
that's what it says in my Bible, and then
Yeah. Ohel Moed, the tent of meeting. Yes.
yeah, and then he gets all this instruction to build it, and then like before they actually build it, it says he goes outside the outside the camp and sets up his own tabernacle and calls it the tent of meeting. And I was like, that's really interesting that
I'm not remembering this. Where is this in Exodus?
uh, like I said, it could be a translation issue too. I'm not sure. So 25, he gives that. Let's see. Then 33 verse 7. Moses took his tent and pitched it outside the camp, far from the camp, and called it the tabernacle of meeting. I don't know. I guess that's just kind of what
the Karalo Ohel Moed. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like before they actually built the tabernacle. So that's just kind of what it made me think of, like God's meeting place in the tabernacle, but originally it was like with Moses, face to face, I guess. In his tabernacle, really wanting to be in man or something. And even when the stuff you were reading before, it was talking about the garments and that being the body that God created for man, something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm just that's where my mind's going. It's kind of trying to connect all of them or something. The tent and the body and the covering, all those things are in a place for God to reside. Like when you're properly aligning with His will, that's when He can. You make yourself the place, like Moses kind of did. I don't know if that's weird to say. That's just where my mind's going. Does that make any sense?
I mean, so it says, "Build me a mikdash, build me a sanctuary." V'shachanti betocham. It says, "I will dwell in them, not I will dwell in it." Okay? Mm-hmm. So when we build a sanctuary, God dwells in us.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. That makes total sense to me. I just didn't know how much of my Christianity is like bleeding over into this study too, but I'm like, I don't know if that was just a Jewish thing or just a Christian thing too.
No, this is the thing. It's like there's the stuff that people tell me, like they're like, where's that in Judaism? Because they don't see it in Judaism. Because we don't talk about it in Judaism, because then people start talking about Christianity.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, what you're saying is, and this is the thing, like the guys that I say, like you and Ben too, are people I say are like obviously ready for that which is beyond just reading the plain Bible, because you already studied the Bible and you understand the foundations of it, and now you're looking for a deeper view of it, which is beautiful and great. And it's just in Judaism we've kind of partially put a Hebrew barrier in front of that, and partially a like, okay, we don't want to talk about the stuff the Christians are going to take and start doing Christian stuff with.
Go run amok with it, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. It's fair. We didn't do that. Yeah, but that's good. That's helps clarify a lot too. That, I mean, I figured that was probably in Jewish thought as well, is that you are kind of God wants to dwell in His people. I will live in them. I will walk in them. They shall be my people. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I really love pointing out where's whatchamacallit? Isaiah 66. Isaiah 66. Where's Isaiah? Why am I not seeing Isaiah? Isaiah 66. Okay. And thus says the Lord, the heaven is my throne and the earth is my footstool. Where is the house that you would build for me, and where is the place of my rest? Right? For all those things has my hand made, and so all those things came to be, says the Lord. But to this man will I look, to him that is poor and of a contrite spirit, and trembles at my word. He that kills an ox is like one who slays a man, that sacrifices a lamb, is like one who breaks a dog's neck, right? So God is saying like this idea that like he's going to be contained in the temple is just plain idiotic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Even Solomon says it, I think, too. After he builds the temple, he says like, the heavens of heavens can't contain you. Like, what is
Right.
this?
Yeah.
Like, this is just a place for your name,
Yeah,
not
right.
for.
So this is
yeah.
it is a place where in which God is revealed to human beings, but it's
Yeah.
not like God forbid God is contained
Stuck.
in it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like and that's the type of thing like the idolaters, and I think that's kind of what it's saying, like, you know, the people who like actually think that it's that God somehow needs to, like, you know, you would bring a bull and sacrifice it so God would eat, like it's just misunderstanding completely, right?
Yeah.
And that's what Isaiah is kind of explaining, right? Right, like that's not why the temple existed. That's not what the temple is for, and to some extent, I would say that it is God's mercy that He destroyed the temple so that we would not continue to think of it in that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I wonder if you could say the same thing about Jesus.
What do you mean?
It's probably a dumb thing to say. But the same thing, I guess, kind of getting back at what I said last time, like, we don't have a picture of him or something. If we had a picture of him, Christians would probably all worship the picture, you know?
Well, I mean,
it's kind of nice that...
Plenty of Catholic churches have actual human-sized, like, Jesus crucifixes. Like, there was a Catholic church on campus. It was just off campus, but we walked past it. Like, it was right where everybody walked to come into campus at USC. And there was this huge life-sized crucifix, right? With an actual human being, like, on it. And my one of my best friends and roommate was Catholic, and like anytime we walked past it, it's like I would be like, come on, that's like you want to tell me that's God, right? Like you have your little statue of God right there, like come on. I'm sorry, this is ludicrous. So my disdain for the an actual crucifix is
yeah.
I
don't know. Well, I'm Christian, so I kind of like. Well, I mean, I like it's the idea, I think, behind it that is compelling. And of course, it's not pretty to look at. It's actually horrifying,
no, it's not.
You know?
It's not even not pretty.
Yeah.
Just not pretty. Like to say that's God.
Well, I think to me, what it means that it's God is that God is love. God is
Okay.
something like unconditional love. It's
that doesn't
that
look
action,
very lovely to me.
it's that action being manifest in man. So it's the fact that your brother Cain would come to kill you, and you would respond and say, "Forgive him, Lord. He doesn't know what he's doing." You would like willingly become the sacrifice. You willingly become the lamb, the scapegoat or something, and say, "Forgive him. Like, let this be put on my account." So to me, that's what it kind of symbolizes. It says that's to me is what it is. The act of forgiveness. It's embodied in a man. To that extent.
A way in which a human being could do what God had, what
God does every day.
It could embody godliness, and human beings embodying godliness is a beautiful idea. I certainly agree with it, right? Yeah. But like,
it's a rough picture to look at, I will say. And that's a kind of a gross one as well. But,
do you know what's my favorite part? Do you know what's my favorite part about this?
The
So
sign?
you see the sign over his head?
Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, right? I'm guessing.
That is what it's supposed to be. So
Yeah.
you know what's so funny about the Hebrew?
What?
First of all, the Hebrew has the vocalizations, which were created about 700 years after Jesus, and we like you would never use on an actual sign, right? So
Yeah.
like whoever wrote it out vocalized it and should have known that the signs would not be vocalized. But that's not even the best part. The best part is, so you know Hebrew is written from right to left.
Yeah, I
So
was about to ask that if it was written the wrong way. Oh gosh.
so
Oh
the
no.
first word is written okay. The second word not so great. The third word and the fourth word he just didn't bother. They're like pseudo Hebrew. He just like but he got tired of trying to do exactly like what he got, and it's just like it's not actually Hebrew. Like it's supposed to read Melech Hamelech Yehudim, but like yeah, it's just pseudo Hebrew.
We don't know what we're doing. We have no idea.
This
We're
is
a mess.
it's one of my favorite like so this I use this image a lot because like I do want to remind Christians of the crucifix, and I did a whole story. I did a whole whatchamacallit. I did a whole video, and it's actually one of my more popular videos. I am here to enslave the goyim, and I go through and I explain this, and at the end I show why I I show why I focus on this image so much. But like this image is my favorite for many reasons, and one of them is the fact that the Hebrew is just bad.
Oh
He
man.
just didn't like the Hebrew
Yeah.
is just so bad.
Yeah.
Uh,
He's kind of a weird color in there too. It's like kind of greenish pale. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, I actually
Yellowish.
think I think he did a pretty good job as far as like detail and stuff. Yeah, the name of this is Christ Crucified.
Hmm.
Yeah, I believe the thing is Velasquez. I think that was his name. Yeah.
You know what would be I sometimes think about this. I think what would be the hard thing uh, for Christians to realize if that's is if that happened again. Like if you to recognize God in a man the way I'm talking about as like this almost this full embodiment, full incarnation of love of this, and it is embodied in its fullness. If that were to happen again, I'm like, man, I would probably miss it. I don't think I'd recognize it. Like
But
if
that's the thing. It's like, look, when we as human beings do God's will, right, and everything
Mhm.
lines up, then we are, and when and as human beings, right, and that's what it means where it says there is no man in the land and he has not sinned, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Because like as human beings, and the word there is chet, which means to miss, right? It's like by being in the land, we fail to fully embody God because it's impossible to fully embody God.
So that word for sin there is to miss, like to miss the mark.
Well, chet, yeah. So where what is that verse? Do you know? Um,
No, I don't. What was the verse again? You said
there is no man on the earth
who
and
has not
that
sinned.
he has not sinned.
Oh
Yeah.
goodness, I know what you're talking about. For there is no man who has not sinned. It's in Solomon says it, so it's in one of those. Let me look. I think it's in Kings. For there is no man on earth who has not sinned. 'Cause I think it's when he's talking about if this temple, like if they'll turn and pray to you.
Ecclesiastes 7:20.
What? How am I so far off?
I don't know.
Oh, that is.
But it is
Okay. Yeah.
Ecclesiastes, which is a thing, right? So,
Yeah.
ki Adam ein tzadik ba'aretz, in the land, asher ya'aseh tov velo yechte, and he will not chet. And the word chet, in at least one place, it's used as an archery term, talking about
Missing. Okay.
missing the mark. Yeah. So Ecclesiastes 7:20, 7:20, and Hebrew.
First Kings 8:46 was the one I was thinking of.
We'll
It's
take a
similar, but-
look at that soon.
I'll try
So
to pull it up.
miss. Where is it used as miss?
All right. So let me see. There's one tools. So it's hot or hata?
Chet.
Is that- Het.
Chet.
Okay.
Chet.
Okay.
Yeah, so in Judges 2016, it's saying throwing stones and missing, or not
Okay.
missing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the thing you said?
1 Kings 8:46 is really not a big deal. That was just the one I was thinking of, where Solomon says, "There's no one."
8:46.
Yep. It's probably just the same. I think it's the same word.
כי יחטו לך, כי אין אדם אשר לא יחטא, יחטא, yeah. ואנפת בם, yeah, yep, yeah. Similar, yeah. There is no man who does not sin. But the reason I brought up this is because it says, Ki ein tzadik ba'aretz, upon the earth. Why upon the earth? Because, like, obviously God is righteous, but we're human beings and we're contained, and by virtue of being finite, we fail to embody God, which is not something Christians are very fond of saying.
Because you get into trouble when you come to thinking about Jesus. Well, here's where I'm just gonna go on a limb here and explore some heresies. Because I've thought about this before too. Is if I define sin as missing the mark,
Mhm.
and like throwing a stone or shooting an arrow at a target, it's hard for me to say that Christ, in that way, if he was fully man, if I really believe he was Son of Man, that he was, in that sense, sinless. It wouldn't be accounted to him. Like, I could say he, according to his knowledge, if he knew something was right and wrong, he always chose the good. But it's like,
Right.
if you get into that area, it's like, well, what about when he stayed behind at the temple? It's like, you have honor your father and mother.
That's something, yeah, and it's like, yeah.
So it's like,
Look,
did he miss the mark there? Like, what should? Because then you could say, well, no, it was really better for him to stay at the temple and learn. But then, why does it say after that he goes with his parents and becomes subject to them? It's like, which one should he have done?
And why couldn't he, like, there was no time in which he could have said to his parents, I'm going to do this, so they wouldn't worry about him?
Yeah. And so that, I don't know, it makes me think about what that actually means, because it's like there's
Anytime you're looking at a human being, you can find a way in which that human being could be more perfect. Because, like, I'm sorry, but, like, just the whole idea of, like, a human being perfectly being perfect is just not, like, and this was part of the thing that made me so happy when Paul Vanderklay, during his Easter speech was explaining to people why Jesus had to ascend to the Father and he couldn't like be a human being in a body. He was like, imagine if Jesus was around in Jerusalem, right? And anybody could go visit him. Like just imagine that. Like
Yeah.
what would happen if like Jesus was actually in Jerusalem and like there was a line out the door of people who wanted to come and like touch his side and make sure, right, and make sure that like doubting Thomas did or wanted to, because and it's funny, like it's one of the things I say to Christians all the time, like, okay, you know what, if Jesus came and ate a fish with me, right, like he did with in the book of John, we could talk, but like as long as like what's it to me that he showed up to other people, like how is that supposed to affect my life?
So what's it to you that he showed up to other people, um, and then left?
Yeah, like the whole story with doubting Thomas, right? So Thomas got to see like eat fish with him and touch his
Mm-hmm.
side and right. Okay.
Yeah, but
Um
what's that to you because you don't get that option?
right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
Thomas didn't believe the other people who told him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm supposed to somehow be different from Thomas, who actually knew these people, who knew Jesus, right?
Oh
And
man.
he himself had seen Jesus. But me, who's never seen Jesus, 2,000 years later, I'm supposed to believe, like, what?
It's very ambiguous. Like I don't know what to say in those scenarios because there are verses when you get in the gospel and it's like, and Jesus appeared in this form, and he came to them in another form, and he appeared to them in this way, and I'm
And
like,
they didn't
what?
recognize him.
Yeah,
And
and
it's
they
like,
don't recognize him at first, and then it's like he's revealed to them, and he's revealed to them in the breaking of bread, and so part of me wonders if that's recognizing that love in your fellow man. Kind of same thing where you would recognize the love of God in Christ or something. And then I mean, I don't know. But then that's probably crazy to say. I think other people would say that he just has this changing glorified body, and I don't know what that means either. Like I don't know if it just materializes and then disappears. I'm not really sure. But
so this is why I keep on saying, I think the ascension of Jesus negates the resurrection and incarnation of Jesus. Because what's the point of the incarnation and the resurrection if he's just going to then become this unincarnate, like
yeah,
what's the point of being bodily resurrected if he's going to be assumed into heaven?
I think there's this. I think the to me, I guess it is the hope of the resurrection, like that. The fact that it actually happened gives you a hope that it will happen or something. It's like this is the first fruits or something. This is the taste, the little taste of what's to come. Um, he said sin is disobeying God.
Yeah,
Um,
Ben doesn't like the chet thing. Yeah, even though I showed him where it is definitely used as miss in one place,
well,
he
it's
still
very.
doesn't. He still doesn't like it.
I mean, I don't know. To me, I like that idea because I think it's if I apply that to Christ, this is hard for me to explain. It gets a little weird. It makes theosis, the idea of theosis, both I think what Jewish people would think and Christian people, probably not Christian people, maybe what they might come to think. But I think it makes it actually possible because, like you said, you can imagine everybody's more in a more perfect way, and so like what is perfection. Like I had to rework that in my head completely because how I when I would hear the word perfection, I would always think just completely without sin, without spot, without blemish, like never missing the mark, never falling down, never stumbling. But now I'm like, if it's just forgiveness, like it's just mercy, it's God's mercy, because God, like in the Gospels, he says, "Be perfect," and then he says, and Luke, in the Gospel of Luke, and when that same passage, he says, "Be merciful." God sends the rain on the just and the unjust, and so if it's like that tree of life, and like properly incorporating truth and mercy, if it's holding those two together rightly, then that would be, to me, perfection. Because
Well, justice and mercy combined to truth and beauty.
To truth and beauty. Okay. Because I'm thinking of a child, and I'm like, if you're a child, so you would have a child, you could say Christ, and you're trying to teach him to walk, and he falls down, he misses the mark, he screws up. You're giving him a goal, and which isn't sin, because it's like, well, I mean, it is to a degree.
Ideal. It's not ideal. So Ben says the definition of chet only uses missing the mark one or a few times, right? But there are various words in the Bible for different types of sins, right? So there's chet and shogeg, right? And shogeg definitely means something that is right? And there's a korban shkiga, right? There's a that you, and then there are sins which are bezadon, that are done deliberately, and like there are different levels of sin. There are different, and so if you that there are different types of sins in the Bible, and ultimately, right, when it says that no man is without sin, it uses the word chet because we fail, and that's just a normal thing that God knows will happen, and that's okay. It's those worse forms of sin which are deliberate, which are in fact worse, and the Bible does make these distinctions, and honestly, I think it's one of the major problems of most Christians would say that it's only Protestants who have this idea, but I think it does show up in various places in the Christian Bible, where it's like, oh, if you do anything wrong, if you sin at all, you're damned to hell. And it's like, where's the justice in that? Like,
yeah.
It's not justice if, like, anyone who I forget where it is. It might be even in James, but it definitely sounds like the type of thing Paul would say, that like anybody who fails any part of the law transgresses the entirety of the law.
I think it is James. Yeah.
And it's like, I mean, yeah, it's bad, but like, it's that doesn't mean. So this is what I like. So the first Rebbe of Chabad explained, like, okay, you have like something, you have $10 or you have $1,000, right? So $1,000 is obviously a lot more than $10, and $1 million is obviously a lot more than $1,000, right? But when you can compare any of them to infinity, they're all like, how much would you sell a credit card that you never had to pay? Like, how much would you sell that credit card? Like, let's say there's this credit card, I can use it anywhere, I don't have to pay for it, right? How much would somebody buy that credit card for? Like, what amount of money would you sell a credit card like that for, right? And even that's not like, that credit card is infinite, right? But God is infinite, and like his holiness is infinite, and his perfection is infinite. So like, some people are millionaires in terms of righteousness, and some people are bankrupt and owe money, right, in terms of righteousness. But ultimately, all of us are finite in comparison to God. And that doesn't mean there's no comparison to make between different people and their levels of righteousness. It just means that in comparison to God, we all miss the mark.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah, I think that part in James, I think you were right. I think it's in James where it says that too.
Mm.
And after that, it says something like, I like the part it says mercy triumphs over judgment or something like that. So I think it's talking about judging your brother. It's like if you're gonna hold someone to this standard, like don't you know, if you're gonna use this measuring stick, then you'll be measured by it as well, type thing. And if you
Yeah,
miss one
that's
mark,
actually that's something that the Talmud says a lot. Is the standard by which you measure is how you are measured,
then,
and so there's this idea. There's a Jewish tradition um, to to memorize a verse, which the first letter is the first letter of your name, and the last letter is the last letter of your name. Like my name is Yaakov, so Jacob. So like there is a now I forget the verse. I did try to memorize it, and you say it on a regular basis, because there's this idea that on the day of judgment you're going to forget your name, and you this verse is supposed to remind you of your name. So like what does that mean? Like what is this concept, like this tradition, right? And one of the explanations I got, which I really like, is what's going to happen is on the day of judgment, God is going to show you your entire life, but you're not going to realize it's you, and he's going to ask you to pass judgment on it.
Oh
Okay?
crap! Oh no!
Right.
Oh no!
Right?
Mercy triumphs over judgment. You better dole out mercy in that second.
And then, right, you will be judged according to your judgment. By the measure by which you judge is how you will be judged. Okay? And so in life, when we learn from the Bible, not right, shogeh is unknowing what sin. Um, um, so in life, what we learn is to actually have mercy and to judge kindly. And so when you remember your name, that's remembering who you were, and to judge mercifully if that is what you learned in life, right?
That's
So
good.
yeah, so you learn Bible, or you learn the Bible, you learn verses, so that
Yeah.
you learn to judge
Oh man.
kindly, so that when you see yourself as somebody else, your judgment, the judgment you cause on yourself on the day of judgment, will actually be a merciful one.
See, to me,
So
that's
this is my
theosis.
favorite.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good. That's really good. I like that a lot. Yeah, to me, that like even going back to the tabernacle thing, and I think some of the tabernacle in Exodus are like some of the most beautiful portions of the Bible to me. Like I love when it talks about the cherubim. I don't. That's probably not the right way to say it. But then they and their faces are turned towards the mercy seat, and that's where God sits. Like that's where the judge. Like you could look at God if you want to say God is the judge, the supreme judge. That's where the supreme judge sits, is on the seat of mercy. And so it's like that's to me that's always that's probably the better way to put it. I guess I like how you're not sure.
Well,
You're
I
like, oh,
mean,
not
so
really.
the way we explain it, like the term mercy seat, I'm not actually sure that's anywhere in the Bible or like I I
What is?
hear Christians using it. I'm not sure I've ever seen it
Oh,
in Jewish sources.
let me see. Exodus. Let me see what word it is. Exodus 25. Mine, I read New King James, and so mine says mercy seat. Let's see. Tabernacle making the patterns. I think it's 25. 25:20. There you go. Let's see. And the cherubim shall stretch forth their wings on high, covering the mercy seat. Oh, yeah. It says Kaporet. Kaporet.
Kaporet, yeah.
Okay. So what does that mean then?
So Kaporet just means covering,
Okay. A place of
and
atonement.
so the Day of Atonement, right, is Yom Kippur. It has the
Okay.
same. It has the same root.
Oh man,
Right.
that's gonna get even deeper for me then. I don't know where I'm gonna go now. You're gonna send me down a rabbit hole. Oh, and Yom Kippur. That's cool.
Yeah, so actually
Wow.
we could take a look at what whatchamacallit has to say.
So that's what's translated mercy seat in my Bible though, is that word.
Yeah, kaporet. Yeah,
Kaporet.
and it's interesting that so the curtain is parochet, which is the same letters in different orders as kaporet. Um,
To me, that registers for some reason as something like forgiving. Is it kind of the same thing when you're covering, when you're making atone? Is that kind of like
It-
forgiving or
Yeah, I mean
covering up a blemish? Or?
there is that concept of Yom Kippur, like, um, of covering over your sins. Yeah, and forgiveness. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
I meant, took a turn off somewhere and got into this stuff, but yeah, because you were going about the name thing, which I thought was really good. Because to me, it's kind of like that when you would, if you were brought up into heaven and you forgot your name and had to judge this person, you would want that judgment that you're going to dole out to be something like covering, like or something like that. If that makes sense, that's what my mind's doing.
I understand. I understand what you
Okay,
mean.
all right. All right.
The two cherubs, like we say, the two cherubs face each other because they are showing that um, they are showing that God brings us together. Like there is that idea.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm. So I have a question going back to the Tree of Life too. You don't have to pull up the
Yeah.
picture or anything. The bottom part you said is often seen as David, right?
Yeah, Malchut is David.
Is that kind of because is that understood that did he embody the Tree of Life, those aspects?
So so each aspect, um, so his life, including the fact that he needs to be united with Yesod, that is Joseph's continence, right, and holiness, right. So David repents, right. So he reflects from the bottom back up,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Is that similar to like the Moses Aaron thing you were kind of talking about too? Is there?
there is that concept, yeah, and there is the thing that like the masculine brings down while the feminine raises back up. So there is this concept of coming down and going up, right?
Yeah.
And the bottom and the top coming together, right? Keter is Malchut, right? The crown is kingship.
That's interesting. Okay. Well, because one of the things that I was actually thinking about earlier today is when you get into the Book of Kings, and it goes through all the different kings. some of them it will say are the son of David, or it'll say this one did good like his father David had done, and then I'll get to another one. This one did wicked, and it won't name David.
Right.
So is
So
that
they're embodying, right? They're embodying God's kingship by doing what
what David?
David did.
I see. Okay. So is that kind of similar? I'm just trying to figure out how to recognize these things, like when I see them in real life as well. Because when Jesus is like walking along, there's these blind men that say, "Son of David, have mercy on me," and they'll call him Son of David. And so I'm like, why would somebody, even back then, if you just think this person's just a prophet or a rabbi or something, was that a common thing? You would see somebody that you think is embodying the God's will
To
and
ask for forgiveness, I mean,
or if you just called someone a son of David, was that a thing back then?
oh,
Like,
to
or
call people son of David.
like
So
around the time of
back
Jesus?
then, there were a lot of candidates for Messiah. A lot of candidates, right?
Okay,
And the hope people had was that somebody was going to be so perfect and good that he would help bring godliness into the world, which is that idea of the Messiah is somebody who helps embody godliness in the world.
okay.
Right.
So when they were calling uh, him son of David, that's basically like calling him the Davidic Messiah, is what they're trying to make that claim or something.
Yeah, I would say
Okay.
yeah.
Then why is it this? Is it not that way in the Book of Kings then when that happens?
No, it is. I mean, so this is part of my thing with I think Christianity gets wrong is we all contribute in some way towards becoming more holy, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Um, so it's like and that's why each of it's not like so each of the patriarchs each of the seven shepherds also embodied each of the other things, right? And all of them are things we are supposed to embody, and that's part of what it says that um, you know, in as much as you are represented in them, anyone who separates one from the other is creating a separation in you, right? Because God is all of these things all together, all at once.
Yeah. Huh. Hmm. So I'm glad you brought up the seven shepherds again. I kind of wanted to ask you about that. There's a verse in Micah where it mentions that. Is that referencing those seven shepherds?
Which verse?
I had to look it up because I remember there was a verse somewhere where it said seven shepherds, and I never knew what it was talking about. So let me find it again. It was because I found it in Micah while you were talking earlier. Let's see. I think it was Micah. Goodness gracious. Micah. Okay, so it's chapter 5, verse 5.
Micah,
Then
chapter 5,
chapter 5, verse 5.
verse 5.
Wait, I
I'm
don't even
not
see it
seeing
there.
sometimes the verses are one or two off.
Okay, it's a there it
right.
is. Yeah,
Okay, there it is.
4.
והיה זה שלום אשור כי יבוא בארצנו וכי ידרוך בארמונותינו והקימוני עליו שבעה רועים, 7 shepherds, ושמונה נסיכי אדם. And let's see what Rashi has to say. 7 shepherds, and concerning the 7 and 8, our rabbis enumerated their names in Tractate Sukkah, referring to Sukkah 52b. So let's look at Sukkah 52b. Where's duplicate? Duplicate. Talmud Sukkah. Who are these seven shepherds? The Talmud explains David is in the middle. Adam, Seth, and Methuselah are on to his right. Abraham, Jacob, and Moses are to his left. And who are the 8 princes among men? Yishai, that's Jesse, his father. Saul, Samuel, Amos, Zephaniah, Zedekiah, the Messiah, and Elijah. So that's what the Talmud says there. Let me see what the Talmud says. Don't see what it means there. Let me see if anybody else mentions. Shiv'a gam shmonad kederech tenchaka. No, he doesn't say. Malbim. V'haya shalom ba'atzil. Asher ba'aretz Nimrod. Tsenu. V'hem yachaz Yoash ben Yeruvam ben. Yeah, I'm not seeing.
I never knew if it was just the 7 was just like a reference to completion sort of thing, or if it was actually if there were ideas for the specific one.
The Eben Ezra says, Gam Shmona, like, he says 7, also 6, right? It says, Vatam kaful ki nesichim kamoroim vehine inad chamisha asar. So he's saying that it's not exactly like it's talking about 15 different people, but it's kind of like telling you 7 and also 8 is like, it says kind of like you say 7, 8, like it's, yeah, so he's kind of saying a similar thing, I think.
Like 7 completion.
That's the Ibn Ezra. Yeah.
Okay. What is the meaning behind 8? Because I know 7 is often thought about like completion.
And 8 is the one below is beyond completion.
Okay.
So like on the 8th day is the day of circumcision, right? Because or there's also Shmini Atzeret. There's a at the end of Sukkot, the festival of tabernacles. There is the 8th day, which is the celebration of the completion.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Wow. And that's when you're given your name too, right? I think.
At your circumcision, and also Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day is Simchat Torah. It's the day we celebrate the completion. That's when you read the last, the end of Deuteronomy, and you start again with Bereshit, with Genesis. So it's like the Torah, the liturgical calendar completes and starts again on Shmini Atzeret, the 8th day of Sukkot.
Okay, that's really interesting. Does the number 8 in Hebrew? Because I know the one in like the English language is like the infinity symbol, basically.
Shmolet.
Is there any sort of indication of that in Hebrew or no?
No, actually,
No.
Chet. So the eighth letter is actually Chet. Ches with a taf, not with a tet, but Chet. Like we were talking, it's the same letter that sin comes from.
That's really
Uh,
that's interesting.
the first letter, like it's the same.
Wow. Huh.
But like,
Hmm.
yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that because it's not exactly the same.
Okay.
Um,
I have. Sorry, I'm kind of bouncing all over here, and asking you random questions.
that's fine.
I did have
That's why
another
you're
one.
here.
Okay, the song, because when we were reading earlier, there was this. This was another question that pops in my head because I love the songs anyway. But it's my hair is covered with dew, um,
Mm.
and I did not know if that had if there was any sort of
No,
relation to
thank you.
that verse and the manna in the wilderness, because I know the dew comes
Tall,
down
yeah,
and
yeah.
covers.
So 39 actually shows up, and 39 and 40. So tall do is has the same number as has the same number as 39. Okay,
Okay,
and so there is this idea that like so the mikvah, right, where you get baptized, right, the immersion bath has to have 40 has to have 40 measures of water in it. And you'll notice that 40 in the Bible is a lot of times completion, right? So when things are complete, oftentimes you'll see the number 40. But for example, that when a person is to be caned with lashes, it's 40. It's actually 40 minus 1, we say, because we never impose the entirety of the 40 lashes, right? So like 39 is approaching that 40th of completion, right?
okay,
And tall do, right, is kind of that approach to completion. And there's lots of ways in which this is brought up in Jewish mysticism and like different things, but like I don't think you would understand all of the various things because a lot of them have to do with like rabbinic and Talmudic things, which then symbolically represent 39 and 40.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
But
Don't
this
mean to
is
like, but
nah.
it's like, yeah, it would be like trying to
Oh,
explain a lot of things I don't think you would have any actual emotional connection with.
is the four sense of completion because of the like four corners of the earth stability and that
4T.
kind of
No, no,
four
no.
40.
4T are by him.
So,
Yeah. 40. 4. Not
okay.
not the number 4. So 39 then 40, right?
Why is that though? Like why is
You so
I mean
40
I know
is
that
just
the
one of
instance.
those numbers that in the Bible, like you'll notice, kind of like in English we'll say a dozen.
Okay.
In Hebrew it'll say like 40, right?
Okay.
40 years is just it's like kind of a
40
uh,
years, yeah,
yeah,
40 days, 40
yeah,
nights, that sort of thing. Okay.
yeah. Lots of yeah. There's a lot of like 40s.
Okay, I just didn't know why it was different than 4 because I thought it was just a 4 with a 0 added to it, so I didn't know why if 4 does 4 not
Mm,
have the same sense like that or no?
Arbayim. Well, it kind of does because it does talk about like the four corners of the earth, right? So I guess it does in a sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
And then there's the four worlds and the 10 sphirot in each of the four worlds, so that's also 40.
Huh. 4 worlds. Okay. Yeah, yeah. That we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Trying to see 390 days in Ezekiel. Okay. When he's got to lay on his side. That makes sense
Right.
now. 39. Alright. And then he lays on the other side for 40 days. For the house of Judah. That's interesting. Huh. So The number for do though is 39. So and
Yeah.
that's the same word that's used when it's talking about the mana or the dew
Yes,
settles.
it is. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure. Yeah. Yeah. I
Huh.
can check. Uh, where were
And
we
then it lifts
looking?
and the bread is there. Is there an indication to the 40 once the dew lifts or something?
Not that I remember, but let's see. Tall. Um,
Because it's just that part's always been really interesting to me and intriguing because it says that they say what is it, like they don't understand what it is, and so they call it mana because it means like
yeah,
my
so
Bible has a note.
manhu, right? It actually, because mana, right? Ma in Hebrew means what?
Yeah. Okay.
So it says they called it ma. They called it man because it was not clear what it is. Yeah,
What it is.
yeah.
Huh.
Um. So you're thinking of.
Is it 16:14? I know it's somewhere in Exodus. I don't know.
Um. Well, this is the quails. This is not with thing. Um, Numbers 11:9. And when Uveredet hatal al hamachane laila yered haman alav. Yeah, so there was a covering of dew, and then the manna came upon it. So
Huh.
yeah.
Then the what is it came upon it. Okay. I just never thought of those two together. And when the Song of Songs, when he comes and says, "My head is covered with dew," not until you were talking about it earlier and talking about all that stuff in the Tree of Life. It's fascinating. Sorry if these are just random sporadic questions. It's just like you went over quite a lot, and it's
That's
so much for
why
me to grab. And I'm
that's
like,
why you're here. You are
yeah,
here, so I'm not just talking to myself.
that's how you
So
get
that
second.
it's somebody that's actually like I'm talking to, and we're looking at these things together.
Yeah, they just feel like probably very scattered, disconnected questions. But I'm like,
Oh,
they
I
often.
forgot. I also forgot to put the link into the chat. I should probably put the link into the chat so people could join us if they want.
Yeah, Ben, hop on here. Who's Ben, by the way? I don't think I've met Ben. Other than the
No.
chat.
So Ben is on my server. He's not on Bridges of Meaning, and I actually met him when I was doing I was streaming, and he was on Twitch, and he came on, and he knows his Hebrew really well. In many ways, he knows Hebrew. Like there are a lot of things about Hebrew he knows that um, in some ways I would say he knows Hebrew better than I do. And he's written some books which are very interesting. And he he's been he streamed a few, like I was trying to get as many chapters of the Bible, like going through like every word, like I was trying to do as many of those as I could, and obviously like I'm never gonna finish all of that. So Ben actually did a few of them, but now he's not in a place where he can do that. Um, but because he's living out with his brother out in the middle of no place.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. That
um,
sounds nice.
yeah, actually, I'm planning on hopefully going to visit him, but yeah, Ben. So like his he so I ask him my Hebrew stuff a lot because um, he knows his Hebrew pretty well, and his some of his books, I mean, I haven't finished reading them, but like he's doing this one project where he's actually trying to figure out the roots, like, because both of us don't like how Strong's does it, because so you'll see Strong's like sometimes like yeah, we don't like how Strong does his concordance, um, because he will not list things by the roots,
Oh,
like both of us would like him to do, um, and so he.
there's
Let me
a.
see if I
Have
have
you
Ben's.
have you tried Blue Letter Bible?
Yeah, it's the same.
Oh, it is. It doesn't have the root. I thought that had the root.
It does have the root, but sometimes I think for theological reasons, they deliberately keep them separate and pretend like they're different, um, because they like it that they would like them to be different, especially like some of the Christian stuff, like for theological reasons, it's just really annoying. Um, let me see where his
I don't know
book
why it didn't click till now,
is.
but the 40 with the manna is it's 40 years in the wilderness. So manna would be, or the dew is 39.
Right. Yeah,
40
and
is the wilderness.
also
Ah,
40 days of 40 days of rain when
the flood?
where yeah, with the flood. Yeah.
Wow.
Where
Hmm.
are his where is his book? Where's the link to his book? No, this isn't it. Ben, where's the link to your book? I can't find it. I have it somewhere.
Can you leave? So where is he on the like the west coast somewhere? Lives over there.
He's up in the
Oh, okay.
northwest.
Okay.
Yeah, he's
Cool.
pretty far. Um, why isn't your website linked somewhere, Ben, on your server? I can't find it. Maybe I pinned it to my discussion with him. Pinned. No, no, no. I know I have it somewhere. Uh,
There's this it's a totally different topic, but this Psalm 85 um verse 10, I think. I didn't know what if there are words in there that are related to the tree of life. 'Cause I know Hesed is in there.
Give me 1 second because this is
Okay.
really bothering me that I can't find Ben's books. I know
Okay.
I have them
Yeah, go for
somewhere.
it.
Uh, let me see, maybe. Oh, yeah, now I remember. I know I have a link when he was on my channel, And if I just find that where he was on my channel, where's he? There's Ben. And I have his books. There are his books. Found it.
Nice.
Okay. Now, you were saying.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's that connected. I was just looking at Psalm 85:10, trying to look at the Hebrew.
85.
10.
Psalms.
Just kind of the
5. Psalm 85. 10. So, Chesed ve'emet nifgashu, tzedek ve'shalom nashaku. So, it is something that does. So this verse does get quoted a lot, but yeah, it's not. I mean, it is in some ways because. Yeah, yes and no. So it's not using exactly all of those words. The one thing, the verse that's most is so okay. Where? Okay. First Chronicles 29:11.
Oh, Chronicles. Is thy greatness, thy power, thy glory? Okay.
Yeah. So this is actually where this has the words. So Lacha Hashem ha-gedula v'ha-gevura. So greatness, we would say, is chesed, gevura, right? So, where were we? So, right? So, ha-gedula ha-gevura v'ha-tiferet v'ha-netzach v'ha-hod kichol b'shamayim u'va'aretz. Lacha Hashem ha-mamlacha v'ha-mitnaseh l'chol l'rosh. Right? So, you see the words Gevura, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, and Mamlacha. All of them are in this one verse.
Huh. That's cool. It's really cool. Alright.
Yeah.
Well, I might hop off here pretty soon, but I had...
Yes. I actually decided I am going to limit these to 2 hours total.
Okay.
So that people can have some idea of like when it's going to end.
Yeah, it's probably good. I did have, before we go though, there was 2 things, and we could save them for another time, that I was eventually going to ask you about that I thought maybe...
And we have to say our ending prayer.
Okay. Right now? Or right now? Okay.
No, not right now.
Okay, alright. So,
yeah.
At the 2 hour mark, we got like a minute.
Yes.
Alright, so it was Psalm 122, but it says, Jerusalem is built as a city that is compact together, which I feel like compact is probably a weird translation in my Bible. But
Psalm 122?
Yeah, it's verse 3, but the whole psalm is just beautiful. But I just thought that could be fun to dig into sometime.
Well, I have to tell you. That's what the Shechuvra. Okay, Yerushalayim habenuya, Jerusalem that is built. Ke'ir shechuvra la yachtav. And it's funny. I was kind of telling Pastor Tanner about this. But like a city, shechuvra, that was chibur is to put things together.
Mm-hmm.
So that was put together, shechuvra la yachtav. So literally with it, right? Yachad means together. Like Yachdav is actually used a lot when we're talking about the binding of Isaac, right? It says that the two of them went together. Shnehem
Okay.
Yachdav.
Okay.
Yeah, so the word compact here is chuvra, that was put together.
Okay. I heard somewhere, I don't know where it was, where someone was saying that it had to do with like heavenly Jerusalem and earthly Jerusalem put together in that way. But I don't know if that might just be some
Yeah,
weird perception on it. But that would kind of, I guess, correspond to as on heaven, as on earth type thing or
yeah,
something. But,
yeah. Like when the spiritual is enacted into the material and on earth. Yeah.
yeah. There's another weird part where it talks about Jerusalem, where it gives this weird. It's in Zechariah, and it gives this weird kind of the phrasing in my Bible is where it says Jerusalem will again be whatever inhabited in her own place, Jerusalem. Like there's two different. It says Jerusalem will again be in Jerusalem or something like that. It's very kind of strange. Neither here nor there, I guess, right now. The other thing I wanted to ask though before we say the prayer, real quick, is I thought there's this like I really want to pick your brain on this. The whole Song of Song things with the Shulamite woman or whatever.
Shulamit, yeah. So Shulamit, shalom, right?
Yeah.
It's the same root. So Shulamit is that which is completed.
Yeah, it's just there's so much. It's like this constant refrain. I don't know what to do with it. It's like Solomon, the same thing. Jerusalem, like Shalom, like all
Yeah,
these.
yeah. The word shalom shows up
Yeah,
a lot.
it's
It's
just
it's even more. So you know that verse in Hosea that I'm always quoting. Um, where's that verse? We shall pay the calves of our lips.
oh yeah, that
Hosea 14:12,
verse. Yeah.
right? And so the word there, we shall pay, is actually neshalma parim sefatenu. We shall become complete, right? Take with you words and return to God. Say to him, he who takes away all iniquity, sin, avon, v'kach tov, and take what is good, and we will become whole. We will offer farim sefatenu, the sacrifices or the calves of our lips.
Huh.
Right?
That's cool. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry. Well, yeah.
Speaking of which, calves of lips, all you.
Oh, me? Okay. All right. Father, I just thank you so much for being here tonight and letting us come together and dig into all these ideas, to dig into your words, to look at all these truths you've laid out for us, Father. And I just thank you that you bring them to our remembrance, to write them on the tablets of our hearts. And I thank you that you just bless Jacob and bless everybody that's listening to this, and just be with us throughout the rest of our week till we come together next week and throughout the rest of our lives. And I thank you for that. Amen.
Amen. Okay, I am going to end transmission.
All right.